Hello, 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 and a pleasant good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Morning Quest. We have so much to discuss today. Honestly, nothing but good news, especially out of the world of Square Enix, which is great because last week's episode we went over their latest financial disclosures and things weren't looking too good. But we have some good news this week that bears well for Square Enix leading into 2025 at the end of 2024. I see Rock, Spaceship, Nick, and Will's word is here. Good morning, fellas. Please excuse my morning voice. I seem to have a little bit of that morning rasp going on. What's going on, Purple FX? Good morning. Happy to see all of you sickos here. Let me see. Does that populate? No. Okay. All right, look. Like I said, we got much to discuss this morning. I think we should just hop right into it. Let's pull this up right here. Lands is here as well. Okay, let's start with this. This coming to us from a Twitter profile called German Strands. Now, again, everything we discuss here today, there's a link for it in the episode description. So, let's go over it and let's go down the list. We have a new interview with Naoki Hamaguchi, who let us in on an update as to how the development of Part 3 of Final Fantasy VII is going. Now, before we continue, I want to make a short disclaimer. I've seen some people theorize that this is why Kingdom Hearts is taking so long, is because Square Enix is so focused on Final Fantasy VII. I just want to say, to my understanding, there is nothing about the development of Final Fantasy VII that would hold up the development of Kingdom Hearts. The Osaka team that works on Kingdom Hearts is very different from the team working on FF7. Yes, Nomura and Nojima are on both projects, but at the end of the day, they're not the devs writing the code. They're not the devs creating the game itself. I mean, they are between the story and storyboarding and directing and stuff like that, but you guys see my point. They're not the ones in the room writing the hard code. Anyway, let's get to it here. First bullet point is one that I actually think is great. I know some people have mixed feelings about it, but Rebirth won't have any DLC, which to me is fine. It's not a game that needs DLC. The game is so massive, so huge, so much to do. There's really no need for a DLC here. Now, keep in mind, with FF7 Remake, they spent a year working on that DLC, Integrate, and from there they were able to move into Rebirth. The development time was 4 years. If Rebirth doesn't do DLC, then the development time, if they match Remake, will be 3 years, meaning we would get FF7 Part 3 in 2027 for the 30-year anniversary, which is 100% what Square Enix is trying to do. That's another reason there's no DLC, is it's very important to them that they finish this trilogy on the 30th anniversary of FF7, which would be 2027. Swig of tea. So personally, I love this. There's still plenty for me to do in Rebirth. Again, I put like 140, 150 hours into the game. Still plenty for me to do. No need for DLC. Let's move out to that next point. Devs get Part 3 out as soon as possible, which again means 2027. They want that 30th year anniversary. Full focus on Part 3. I mean, those 3 bullet points are the same thing. Final Fantasy has evolved alongside the hardware. See, that's one where I'm bearish on that one. I think they need to put a pause on it. If Square Enix was smart, they would halt all of that and let Nintendo's hardware catch up. That's just my opinion. Director respects turn-based combat. I mean, you have to. It's at the root of the series. Called Metaphor ReFantazio, a really great RPG, which it is. Highly recommend everybody play it. I'm still only about 25 hours in. I'm on the 3rd dungeon, but I am having a great time. Let's see. Director understands fan requests. See, that's one I'm like, okay, but which fans and which requests? Because I see a lot of bonkers shit out there, dude. Like, I definitely think it's important to listen to fan feedback. No question. Square Enix has always been good about that. But anything in its excess becomes its opposite. So if you listen to fans too much, you're kind of letting the fans direct the game. Fans are great. Fan feedback is great. But I trust you guys. I hope they don't put too much stock in, again, fan feedback is one thing, especially when it comes to gameplay. I don't think fan feedback for story should be taken into consideration. Moving on. No major changes in structure. Yeah, I mean, the game's going to feel like Rebirth did. Nick says, I firmly believe Rebirth is about as far as they should push the series from a tech standpoint. Seriously, Nick, I'm with you 100%. The tech in Rebirth, just stick with that and let Nintendo catch up. That's what I think. I don't need an FF to look better than that game. There's no need. There's no need. Again, we can see the pores on Cloud and Tifa's face. We don't really need to go much further right now. All the money, all the progression we've put towards graphics and visuals, now let's budget that towards gameplay and things of the like. Platinum Trophy difficulty for Rebirth was a mistake. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And this is where I'm like, don't listen to fans too much, because the only fans you get to hear are the ones online. Most of the people purchasing your game are not online. Remember that. They're not online talking about it, discussing it. Most people who play your game and love it, they're not online having discourse about it. The Platinum Trophy was not too difficult. Is it difficult? Yes, but it should be. You're platinuming an 80-hour RPG. It should be difficult. I love the fact that it's difficult because it gives me a reason to keep coming back. I got to work on this trophy. I got to work on this battle arena. I got to beat my hard mode playthrough. There's so much worth coming back to that's part of that trophy run. I think that's silly. I think trophy lists are a great way for the devs to direct players to do what they want them to do. Hey, make sure you go here. Hey, make sure you go here. Here's an incentive to try this. So trophy lists to me are fantastic for getting players to explore outside of their comfort zone. If you dial that back and you make it easier, you're sort of defeating that purpose. So this is an example, again, of maybe listening to fan feedback that me personally I don't like, because I don't think that platinum was too difficult. I think it was difficult for the people who tried to platinum it in 2 to 3 weeks, which based on YouTube, a lot of people did that. A lot of people did platinum it in like 3 weeks. And if you tried to do that, it must have been a chore. It must have drove you insane. But games like FF7 Rebirth aren't meant to be platinumed in just a few weeks. To me, it's like, oh, I'm going to spend a year getting that platinum because I really got to work for it. Trophies should be challenging. They should. Trousers, they should. Knockville says, agreed. Always love a challenge. Always love a challenging Square game. Could not have said it better myself. And again, guys, I got a little bit of the morning rasp this morning. That's why we're doing tea. So just don't mind me. So yeah, that whole bit right there about the Part 3 Platinum will be easier to get. Stop with the easier. Stop with the easier. The game already has an easy mode, which is good. You know, allows more people to experience the game. But the trophies, that should be for the gamers, bro. That should be for those of us that love the grind. Want to be put through a challenge, right? Some of those boss arenas are really tough. I'm not discounting that. But like I said, they're so hard, it forces the player out of their comfort zone and incentivizes them to do so. You don't want to lose that. But you know what? If listening to fan feedback only goes so far as that, I think we'll be okay. Anyway, I guess one more thing. The story for Part 3 has been completely written as well. So now that the story has been completely written, you know they're working on all of the game development now. So we have all this news about Part 3 underway. We know that the story and script has been fully written. Things are underway, and it's very exciting. Lan says devs should only listen to gamers when it comes to feedback. Right, like, I see exactly what you mean, Lance. In the same way, that's why I don't want them listening to fans about the story too much. I'm like, listen, the fans are not writers. Most of these fans giving you story feedback, and again, fan feedback is important, but it's like they don't know what you have in mind. They don't know, again, what sort of archetypes you're going for, what sort of hero's journeys you're trying to tell. So, again, I think feedback should be taken strictly from a gameplay perspective. And as Lanz is saying, you really should try to narrow that down to listening to your hardcore gamer audience. Because your casual FF7 fan doesn't care about platinuming FF7. I always bring up my younger brother because he's a great example. He's playing the game. He's not going to platinum it. He's going to play it, take in the story, enjoy it, and move on. Sickos like me platinum your game or try to platinum your game. And sickos like me do want you to make it difficult. For instance, I platinum Tekken 8. I love Tekken 8. One of my favorite games of the year. I platinum Tekken 8. But I did it in 13 hours. And in a way, it got in the way of my momentum of playing that game. And even though I prefer Tekken 8 to Street Fighter 6, I ended up putting in more hours into Street Fighter 6. What's going on, Luz? Don't worry about being late. You're all good. Let's move on. We got some really, really good news here. Dragon Quest HD 2D Remake sold 821,000 physical copies at launch. Amazing. We can conclude that this game has sold well over 1 million copies at launch, which we talk about it all the time. Square has to rein it in. Square has to dial it back. Just because you made some super mega deluxe AAA RPG with a giant open world map and 100 hours of gameplay doesn't mean it's going to sell more. Here's a game, 2D, pixel art, turn-based, callback, and they sold over 1 million copies at launch. 821,000 physical copies in Japan alone. Now, yes, Dragon Quest is more popular in Japan than it is the West. But that doesn't mean the West didn't gobble this game up too. I'm sure they did. Probably not in the same ratio that Japan did, for lack of a better term. But again, does that say in Japan? Yes. Right here, Mr. Trousers. In Japan, 821,000 copies. Physical, right? That's insane. Once you include international and digital, boof, through the roof. They should be really proud of themselves over at Square Enix. This is fantastic. If you're like me and you want more of these old school Square pixel RPGs remade in an HD 2D fashion, this is incredible news because the game sold like hotcakes. And if they do this for a Final Fantasy VI or a Final Fantasy V or something along those lines, it'll absolutely pop off. So again, if you're like me and you've wanted Square to do more of these HD 2D remakes, this is a great sign. This is a great sign. Here, take a little swig. So again, I hope that this not only shows Square that people want these kinds of games, I hope that it also shows Square that you don't need to break the bank to make money. You don't. Just give the gamers what they want. Dragon Quest fans have wanted something like this for a long time. You gave them what they wanted, and they came out for you. Now, if you did this for Final Fantasy VI, I promise you would see similar numbers. Nick says, I will say this, I am very happy for HD 2D being a thing for Dragon Quest. It bothers me seeing people say FF17 should go in this direction. FF17 should not be a pixel art HD 2D RPG. But I do think Final Fantasy 17 either should operate within the new Rebirth framework or it should be a turn-based RPG. I really think those are Square's only two options for Final Fantasy games. Either you use the Rebirth template or you go back to turn-based. Let me see this. Nox says, by the way, Hamaguchi did a couple more interviews if you want to check them out later on. I'm gonna do a Landy Lodge podcast episode on all his interviews. Because like you're bringing up Noct. Excuse me. There's a lot to chew on from those interviews. But yeah, no, this is great news. More HD2D is definitely on the way. And again, I hope this is a lesson for Square that's like, you don't need to spend $100 million to sell a bunch of copies. You just have to give fans what they want. That's all. Okay, next. Here's a big one. According to a new rumor, so this is a rumor, right? Nintendo is potentially preparing up to 7 million Switch 2 units to avoid shortages at launch. This is 2.5 times the amount of Switches that were available. Excuse me. I think I might be a little bit sick. Anyway, but we persevere, right? So, look, I remember what it was like when the Switch dropped. I was lucky enough to get one at launch. I was on that shit like a hawk. But the reason why there was such a shortage is because Nintendo did not expect the Switch to be that much of a success. Nintendo knew the Switch would be a success, but I don't think they knew how much of a success it would be. So them preparing to have almost 3 times as many Switch 2s at launch, par for the course. Nick says, I 100% agree. It should use Rebirth as a template. That should be the template for mainline FF for the next decade. You're right, because Final Fantasy needs an identity. It's okay for it to be an anthology where every entry is its own thing, but it needs a consistent identity. I think, Nick, as you're saying, regardless if they use action combat or turn-based combat, Rebirth and the way the game unveils itself to you and the way you explore it, that should be the template for Final Fantasy moving forward. Okay. So this is good news. I mean, look, it's only a matter of time. Landy leaning into the sickos this morning. Yeah, I'm a sicko in more way than one this morning. So, this is great news. Again, Switch 2 is clearly on the way. I think you can expect it in 2025. And I think we can expect to hear something soon. I think they're going to wait for the holidays to pass because you don't want to distract people from your holiday deals, your holiday bundles, the things you're selling. I've got a feeling come January, once the holidays are done, we're going to see something about the Switch 2. Call it a Landy Lodge prediction. I think in January, we'll see something for the Switch 2. Okay. How are we doing on time? 21 minutes. We're crushing it. Okay. Here we go. Here's something else I wanted to discuss. So obviously we got the Game Awards coming up, and Andy Brew and I just did a podcast where we talked about the Game Awards for a little bit. And don't get me wrong, Game Awards is a fun show. A lot of cool announcements, a lot of cool trailers. But we take a lot of issue, as I'm sure a lot of you do, with how those nominees are chosen, how those awards are chosen. 10% fan vote, 90% vote by outlets. Now, again, if those outlets were all rooted in the gaming industry, that would be one thing. But some of those outlets that, again, choose the nomination and winners of the Game Awards are NPR, LA Times, Variety, the Kinda Funny podcast. Again, things that are not exclusive to gaming or really centered in it, which I take issue with. And again, even if even if all those were centered in gaming, 90% of the vote going to outlets, you're not going to get the accurate consensus of the gamer fan base, of gamers themselves, rather, or the gaming industry. The Golden Joystick Awards, which I think I might stream next year, now that I learned a little bit of something how they work. The Golden Joystick Awards is primarily fan chosen. Primarily fan chosen. Now, I saw some people take issue with that, but I have to be honest, I don't take any issue with it because the awards are not that serious, bro. You got to remember, these awards and these award show, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. These are PR events that celebrate the year in gaming, and they should be taken as such. But if you're going to have these awards, let the fans choose, okay? Don't do what freaking Hollywood did and the publishing companies, where all these things are decided by some prestigious little committee that nobody gets to be a part of. They're unelected. Screw that, okay? This is video games. This industry serves its customers. When it thrives, it serves its customers. So when it comes to these award shows, let the customers, let the gamers voice their opinions. We don't want the opinion of Variety. We don't want the opinion of the LA Times. We don't want the opinion of NPR. I want to know what my fellow gamers think. Because, again, this is a PR event. I'll get into it a little bit. Let's go into this little tweet of mine. So, Golden Joystick Awards, Black Myth Wukong won Game of the Year. Here's my take on it. The people have spoken. These awards are chosen primarily by fan voting. Globally, Black Myth Wukong is probably the best-selling game of 2024. And in a popular fan-driven award show, it came out on top. When you sell more than anyone and more players come out for you than any other game, the message is clear. I was going to pass on this game, but maybe it's worth checking out down the road. Because again, guys, when it's all fan voting, we all know how much Final Fantasy VII fans love Final Fantasy VII. We know how popular a series it is, how popular an IP it is. It's been around for almost 30 years. We know it's got a loyal fan base. But in a fan voting driven show, Black Myth Wukong won. Black Myth Wukong won. So to me, this is the direct consensus of gamers. There's a direct line there. Of course it won. It sold the most, was reviewed favorably. More fans came out for it. But think about that. Black Myth Wukong, brand new IP. Is it based on Journey to the West? Sure, but so is Dragon Ball. Brand new IP. Had more fans come out for it than FF7. I'm an FF7 fan. I don't take that personally. I want this industry to thrive. Okay, Black Myth Wukong, having a bunch of fans and winning this award does not diminish the accomplishments or the quality of FF7 Rebirth in the slightest. But it's amazing that this brand new IP had more people come out for it than FF7, which I believe did finish second place in this voting. So again, to me, I think this is way more valuable. Like, I'm more likely to try the Game of the Year from the Golden Joystick Awards than I am from the Game Awards. Because I'm more interested in what your average gamer thinks than what your average outlet thinks. Because I've seen the way these outlets behave. A lot of the time, they have their mind made up about a game before it even releases. But yeah, look, I might stream these awards next year. I like that it's fan-driven in terms of the voting. But they said Wukong only won by a few hundred votes. Yeah, I mean, you could win by 10 votes. Doesn't matter how much you win by. I still think it's incredible. I still think that bodes well. That this brand new IP was able to beat FF7 in a fan-driven voting contest. Again, that doesn't diminish FF7. Its quality, its fan base, nothing like that. But it shows you that contrary to what some of these companies think, a brand new IP can thrive. Right? You're seeing the mistake in cinema, right? Look, if you want to know what gaming shouldn't do, just look at what cinema is doing. Right? Cinema is insisting upon popular IPs, and they are reluctant to take a chance on something new and fresh. Thus, less people are going to the movies. We're getting basically the same movie, like, fed to us every single year, just with a different coat of paint on it. No, we don't have to go down that road. In gaming, a new IP can thrive. You just need to make a good game. Okay. Knox says Square needs to have Chinese localization for that game. I mean, look, if you don't think every developer is looking at the Chinese market after Black Myth Wukong comes out, trust me, Square's taking a hard look at it, Knocked. I'd be willing to bet. But yeah, Elsong, look, I'm not saying... Again, for those of you who might just be tuning in, I'm a little under the weather today. But we're making it work, right? So, Black Myth Wukong winning doesn't diminish this in the slightest. But I think it's a great thing. That's all I'm going to leave it at. That's all I'm going to leave it at. You let the fans speak. And by the way, FF7 Rebirth cleaned up at the Golden Joystick Awards. It got Best Narrative, it got Best Soundtrack, it got Best Lead Voice Acting Performance, Best Supporting Voice Acting Performance. It cleaned up, right? And that's what's cool is the fans got to come out and the fans feel Rebirth had the best narrative. The fans feel Rebirth has the best soundtrack. Like that means infinitely more to me than what any outlets are going to select. But again, that's just me. That's just me, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing on time? Okay, we got a little bit of time. Perfect. Let's cover our last story here. Final Fantasy XIV has gone mobile. I repeat, Final Fantasy XIV has gone mobile. Now, I saw this story get covered. I've not seen this trailer that we're about to watch, so I'm going in pretty blind. But it appears as though Final Fantasy XIV, which I recommend everybody get into, okay? You need help? Holler at your boy. I'll show up. We'll do the raids. I'll take you through the dungeons, okay? I'm here to help the sprouts. Anyway, I recommend everybody give FF14 a try. It's amazing. It's coming to mobile devices. But in what way? Let's find out. By the way, Yoshi P, one of the best in the game.
はファイナルファンタジー14プロデューサー兼ディレクターの吉田です。新生ファイナルファンタジー14のスタートから11年、本当に長い期間献身的な皆さんサポート本当にいつもありがとうございます。ファイナルファンタジー14は次なる10年に向けてさらなる挑戦として今回モバイル版の開発を発表させていただきました。こちらはファイナルファンタジー14本体をモバイル用に完全アレンジしたモバイルデバイス用の最新 MMORPG です。アレンジとはいえですね、ストーリーやバトルコンテンツなどその
So I wonder, I'm pretty certain, we'll find out, obviously, but I think it might actually be separate from FF14. Like,
体現には、ものすごい情熱と品質、それらを追求してライトスピードスタジオの皆さんが献身的に開発をしてくださっています。すでにファイナルファンタジー14をプレイしている皆さんも、そしてこれからファイナルファンタジー14の物語に触れてくださる皆さんも。
Yeah, you know what's crazy is because this is great because it incentivizes a lot of long-time players to go back to A Realm Reborn. Because while from a gameplay perspective, A Realm Reborn is the weakest part of FF14, the entire story rests on its foundation.
ぜひぜひ今後の展開にご期待ください。ファイナルファンタジー14プロデューサー兼ディレクターの吉田でした。それではトレーラーどうぞ。
I guess my question has to be, like, can I use my Warrior of Light? Or are we just going to play as Meteor, like the default Warrior of Light? That's what I'm curious about. Hey, Kerr says, my dumbass thought you were interviewing him for a minute there. Oh, do you know what I would do? Do you know what I would do to interview that man? My lord. Good morning, by the way. Bro, was that Thancred? Hold on. Was that Thancred or something? No, just looks like him. I was gonna say, my man. This is so sick. Dude, mobile has come a long way, dude. Mobile's come a very long way. This is actually kind of crazy. Good fact. I mean, look, guys, look, we've talked about it on the show, but if you don't know, like, this is literally the one thing keeping Square Enix afloat for the most part. Final Fantasy XIV is what's keeping Square afloat, and it's why I actually think the chances of a Kingdom Hearts MMO in the future might be imminent. Because the truth is, if you do this right, you not only offer gamers a once-in-a-lifetime experience, which is what I feel about FF14. I do think it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Might be my favorite game of all time, which is a tough sell, by the way. Very tough sell. This is smart. This is very smart. Because I still think there are a lot of people out there who should give this game a shot that haven't yet. And honestly, this is one of my favorite parts of the game. Honestly, of course BioRoxas shows up for the FF14 segment. Of course BioRoxas shows up for the FF14 segment. What's going on, man? By the way, everybody should check out BioRoxas, by the way. One of the best in the game. If you enjoy what we do here, you'll enjoy what he does over at his space. This is honestly one of my... Oh, hello, Yashtola. Didn't see you there. One of my favorite parts of FF14, honestly, is literally just spawning into Limsa Lominsa and just seeing the nonsense that's taking place. $14? Oh yeah, easily. I was gonna say, Bio, it was like, I don't know how it happened, dude. It's like when you rub the genie lamp and the genie appears. It's like we put FF14 on the screen and Bio just appeared. Oh my god. That low-key freaks me out for a split second there. Okay, one thing. I did not realize how hard Lalafell Dragoon goes. I did not realize how hard Lalafell Dragoon goes. So what's crazy, footage shown is from FF14 Mobile. It's like if you didn't know better, you wouldn't know you're looking at a mobile game. Rox says, I love it. I remember one time someone was using a shout chat to talk about how everyone who played 14 was fat, gross men, except for her, who was thin and had a PhD. I really hope they were trolling. I really hope they were trolling. Because it's like FF14's that prime example of like every kind of... I often make jokes that like human beings, there are only a certain amount of strains, you know? There's only a certain amount of strains of human beings out there, right? 7-8 billion people on the planet, but maybe there's only 100 strains of human being scattered among those 7-8 billion. I'll tell you this. Every single strain of human being is inside FF14. Basement-dwelling neckbeards, thin doctors with PhDs, computer programmers who are sickos. Like every strain of human being is in FF14. That's part of what makes it enjoyable. Back to it. The fact that this is footage from the mobile game, right? Because it literally just looks exactly like A Realm Reborn. If you didn't tell me that was a mobile trailer, I would have thought it was just an FF14 promotion.
Are you there? It's me. Pray return to the waking sands at your
Wait. These are new voice lines. Wait. That's a new voice line. Are they going to re-voice like a bunch of the scenes?
Are you there? It's me. Pray return to the waking sands at your earliest convenience.
Amazing. Okay, Bio says some people have theorized that this version will be turn-based because there's no movement and it's kind of lined up like 4v1. Ooh, I'd be into that. That might feel a little fresh. I can only imagine how quickly my phone would explode if I tried to play this. What's so interesting is how this came out of nowhere, but I wonder how well optimized it is. I'm with you there. I wonder how well optimized it is. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, what do we got for a time? Okay, we got to wrap it up here. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for turning up. Happy Friday. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. If you're watching this back as a VOD, hope you enjoy whatever part of the day you're in, morning, afternoon, night. Again, happy Friday. Let the weekend begin. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'll probably be live either later tonight or on Sunday. Going to take the day off tomorrow. But again, guys, be good to yourselves, okay? Be good to yourselves. It's the weekend. Be good to each other. It's the weekend, all right? I'll see you all next time, okay? Be good out there. Later. Love you all. Peace out.